High school, college, and pro sports teams really need to make their players read Stop Simpin' because that book could keep their players from getting into jams that could basically destroy their lives.
Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.
A member of the Alabama men's basketball team and another man have been charged with capital murder in connection with a shooting that led to the death of a 23-year-old woman. All video used in this video is under fair use of United States copyright law of 1976 and is used in conjunction with my commentary.
6:14 now. New disturbing details emerging this morning in the deadly shooting of a woman who police say was killed by a former University of Alabama basketball player.
We have learned that the victim may have rejected advances from Darius Miles right before she was shot. That is according to her own mother. Investigators say 23-year-old Jamia Harris was with her boyfriend visiting in Tuscaloosa, Alabama over the weekend. According to Harris's mother, DeCarla Cotton, a man approached her daughter and started flirting with her at the restaurant. Harris declined his advances, causing an altercation. Cotton says as her daughter and her boyfriend were leaving, a man shot multiple times into their vehicle. Harris's boyfriend fired back in defense. Authorities say Miles, along with a second suspect, are both charged with capital murder.
Now, in this incident, Darius Miles, a 21-year-old forward for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and a friend, Michael Lynn Davis, were both charged with capital murder after allegedly taking the life of 23-year-old Jamia Harris.
6:14 now. New disturbing details emerging this morning in the deadly shooting of a woman who police say was killed by a former University of Alabama basketball player.
We have learned that the victim may have rejected advances from Darius Miles right before she was shot. That is according to her own mother. Investigators say 23-year-old Jamia Harris was with her boyfriend visiting in Tuscaloosa, Alabama over the weekend. According to Harris's mother, DeCarla Cotton, a man approached her daughter and started flirting with her at the restaurant. Harris declined his advances, causing an altercation. Cotton says as her daughter and her boyfriend were leaving, a man shot multiple times into their vehicle. Harris's boyfriend fired back in defense. Authorities say Miles, along with a second suspect, are both charged with capital murder.
Now, it is alleged as Darius Miles and Michael Lynn Davis were hanging out at a place outside of the university called The Strip that Darius Miles allegedly saw Jamia Harris and allegedly began flirting with her. And Jamia Harris rejected Darius Miles' advances, allegedly possibly saying that she had a boyfriend and a child. And it seemed like getting rejected was the thing that possibly triggered Darius Miles, because after being rejected, Darius Miles allegedly contacted Brandon Miller, who drove to the Strip and then told him that he had a firearm inside of his vehicle. And after being told that he had a firearm in the vehicle, Darius Miles allegedly went and took out that weapon and then used it to shoot into the vehicle of Jamia Harris. And after shooting into the vehicle of Jamia Harris, he wound up taking Jamia Harris's life. Now, the police are seeing this murder as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the behavior of Darius Miles and Michael Lynn Davis, it fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And both Darius Miles and Michael Lynn Davis are beta males that take their lives for granted, and I go in depth on this in a video I did called Black People Taking Their Lives for Granted, because here was two young men who were basically going to a top university, and one of them was on his way to becoming possibly an NBA player by playing for this NCAA team. And both of these men were basically taking all of the success that they had for granted. And because one of these males did not know how to navigate through his emotions and deal with rejection from a woman, what he did was act on his impulses. And as he acted on his impulses, he went out here just trying to sate the hurt feelings he had about some woman rejecting him, and wound up taking a woman's life. And as he went and took this woman's life, he changed their lives forever. Because all it takes is one impulsive act to change a person's life completely. And I go in depth on that in one of my novels, The Legendary Mad Matilda, about how one decision can take you from being college bound to on the road to the prison pipeline. And this is what happened to Darius Miles and his friend. They basically wound up going on the road from being on the road to being college bound to being on the road to the prison pipeline, all because neither man was doing any critical thinking, and because none of these young men were doing any sort of critical thinking from Brandon Miller, who didn't do any critical thinking to ask his friend Darius Miles, why do you need a strap, when he was going to a top university and had everything to lose. He didn't ask that question, and because he didn't ask that question, sadly, Darius Miles and his friend are now on possibly the road to prison because Brandon Miller didn't sit down and do some critical thinking. Because when somebody calls you and asks you to bring them a firearm, the first question you need to ask is, why do you need this weapon? Because if something happens with this weapon, you may possibly be liable for what happened. Now, Brandon Miller was not charged with any sort of crime, but the whole thing is any critical thinking man is going to ask critical questions because he understands that if he doesn't ask those questions, he may have a lot to lose. And Darius Miles really was not thinking about what he had to lose as related to this situation, and because he was not thinking critically about what he had to lose, what he did was get in his feelings over this woman who was a single mom and getting upset about her rejecting him, not understanding that he basically dodged a bullet by this woman rejecting him, because once this woman rejects you, you have an opportunity to go out here and get involved with a better quality woman. And that's something that Darius Miles wasn't thinking about because his ego was bruised because he was a top player for this Alabama Crimson Tide team. And he possibly thought, since I'm a player for the Alabama team, no girl should go out here and want to reject me. But every guy out here, whether he be a high-value man or a pookie out here, they all have to learn how to take rejection, and how you take rejection shows your character, because a man has to go out here and be able to take L's, and a man of character understands that if a girl rejects him, he's not going to go out here and act impulsively. What he's going to do is, okay, charge her to the game, head over to wherever they've got the food, go out here, order him some scrimps or some burgers and fries, then sit back and chill, because if he's going there just to get some food, he's not going to get in his feelings about some female saying no to him, because he understands that there are plenty of women out there, and a woman going out here and saying no to him ain't the end of the world. Now, I myself have been where these guys have been, and again, I've had to deal with lots of girls rejecting me in places like junior high school and high school, and I've had some of these girls even go out here and get really nasty as they were rejecting me, and some of them even mocked and made fun of me, but I never wanted to attack those women. No, I understood, because I had to navigate through my emotions. I had to charge them to the game and keep it moving, because once a woman shows you that she's not interested, what you have to do is just go out here and accept that she said no. And if she's saying no, then that, as I've always seen it, is an opportunity for me to have an opportunity to talk to somebody who would say yes. So it's better to hear the no from this woman so that I can go out here and move on to the women who are actually interested in me. Unfortunately, Darius Miles and his friend basically had bruised egos, which is something beta males have because beta males cannot take rejection. And because beta males cannot take rejection, what happens is these males who are already seething with anger, they go out here and explode in rage. And the rage is set up here to show malice aforethought because Darius Miles and his friend had quite a bit of time to go out here and think about their actions, which definitely show malice aforethought, because if Brandon Miller had to drive to this strip to provide them with this firearm, then it really shows me that both of these men had malice aforethought when they allegedly used this firearm to take the life of Jamia Harris. Because, again, it usually takes about 10, 15 minutes as related to driving on a campus to go from one place to the other or outside of that campus. And in that time, these men could have thought critically, and a critical thinking man would have sat there and said, okay, this girl went out here and rejected me, and she may have even dissed me as she rejected me, but a critical thinking man is going to say, look, I'm not even fazed by that rejection, and I'm not fazed by that rejection because if I'm a basketball player on the Crimson Tide team, then I can do better than some female who rejected me at a strip. No, I can do better than this woman because there are plenty of women on this campus who would be checking for me. Unfortunately, Darius Miles had extremely low self-esteem, and because of that low self-esteem, he got in his feelings, and as he got in his feelings, he allegedly went out here and contacted Brandon Miller, had him bring him a weapon, and basically put both of these men's careers possibly in jeopardy. And as he wound up putting both of their careers in jeopardy, it was all because he was in his feelings, and he was in his feelings because he never learned the male life skill of being able to navigate through your emotions. Now, navigating through your emotions means that, yes, you may have the feelings of hurt, but you're not going to act on those feelings because you understand that you have consequences for your actions, and those consequences for your actions can cause you to lose. So when a guy who understands this understands that, yeah, I got these feelings about getting dissed possibly by this female, but what I'm going to do is go out here and, yeah, I have those feelings, but I'm going to go out here and charge this to the game, and what I'm going to do is work through those feelings and go out here and not act on those feelings so that I don't wind up losing more important things like this Darius Miles possibly lost. Like he possibly wound up losing a scholarship as related to this university. He wound up getting kicked off the basketball team, possibly getting kicked out of school, and is now in the sheriff's county's office, locked up, waiting for trial. And he did all this, and again, he was in his third year of college, so he was 1 year away from a degree or 1 year away from the NBA. And instead of him being on the road to going out here and having a great NBA career or possibly getting a degree, he is now on the road possibly to the penitentiary, and he's on the road to going from shooting hoops at Alabama's university to going out here to having guys looking to play with his backside like Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Melvin, and Big Dave. And he's gone from going out here from being a possible prospect for the NBA to going to being a guy who's going to be going from a tight end to a wide receiver, and a guy who will be going from playing pickup games of basketball to being picked up by Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, and Big Dave for Little Debbie snack cakes, Raymond noodles, Taster's Choice coffee packets, packets of Crystal Light, Kit Kat candy bars, Fritos chips, six-pack Oreo cookies, and all of the other assorted parts of the commissary. This guy has gone from being a guy who was possibly on his way to an NBA career to possibly going to being a top prospect for being a wide receiver and being spit roasted by all of those big dudes in a penitentiary. Again, this was all because both of these men did not do any critical thinking, and they didn't do any long-term thinking as related to the big picture of their lives. And that's the really troubling thing to me about the whole case of Darius Miles, that Darius Miles really did not do any sort of critical thinking, because most guys, after getting rejected by one of these girls out here, they would not be fazed by it, and once they learned the background of somebody like a Jamia Harris, they would basically be just laughing it off, because once they learned, okay, this woman is a baby mama who has a boyfriend, this is not an optimal situation that he would want to be in. So he would say, okay, I dodged a bullet as related to this girl. So me taking an L out here basically was me getting a W. And that was a thing that Darius Miles wasn't thinking about, because Darius Miles was sadly in his feelings about possibly this girl possibly dissing him hard. And after getting disrespected, he got in his feelings about taking his respect, not understanding the way you take your respect as a man, as related to a woman rejecting you, is going out here, going on about your business. Because when you go on about your business, people see that you respect yourself in the face of a rejection. And when you're out here, other women are watching, and as those women watch you take that L, and they see you handle it with class, these other women are going to be looking at you, looking to get their Mac on. And instead of you having to go out here and Mac the females, what's happening is the girls start coming to you, and some of them start coming to you because they see, okay, this man's character is strong, this man's resolve is strong, this man is very disciplined, and if this man is very disciplined and related to his character, then he's a possible prospect for a relationship. And sadly, many beta males don't understand this at all, and once they get rejected, they start getting emotional, and as they start acting on their feelings, they wind up missing out on an opportunity to have a relationship with another woman, and they also miss out on an opportunity at having a better life. Because you had Darius Miles, again, he's playing for the Alabama Crimson Tide, one of the top players for the NCAA, playing for a top team, making his way to success, and in an instant like that, his entire life is completely changed because he acted on his feelings and he acted impulsively, and that impulse act basically led to him on the road to winding up on the road to prison, again because he was not taught the male life skills and male survival skills on how to deal with situations with women. And when I look at the situation with Darius Miles, I definitely believe he would have benefited from reading 3 of my books. He definitely would have benefited from reading The Man Crisis, where he would have learned why this behavior is dysfunctional. He definitely would have benefited from reading Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, to learn why getting upset about women is not something a man does. And he would have definitely benefited from reading my novel, The Legendary Mad Matilda, where he would have learned that all it takes is one bad decision to basically change your entire life. And he would have basically learned from reading those 3 books, but sadly he never got the chance to read those 3 books, because those 3 books basically would have given this young man some perspective as related to how your life can change in an instant, because your life can completely change in an instant when you take it for granted. And I see this sadly happening to more and more black males out here. You've got more and more black males out here who take their lives for granted, and they think that everything is going to just be hunky-dory, and that's not how life works, because all it takes is one decision that can basically turn your entire life around, and you can go from being a major success to winding up in prison. And that was a hard lesson I learned growing up here in the South Bronx, watching so many black males wind up throwing away their freedom, over some female at a party. They would be getting in their feelings because, oh, this girl told me no, this girl dissed me, and as a result, they were looking to go out here and get the heater out and looking to pop some caps in this girl. And in some cases, they would go out here and hurt and take the life of that girl. Sometimes they would wound that girl, or they would wind up taking the life of some innocent bystander. And what would happen in most of those cases is many of those guys would wind up on their road to the penitentiary, where they would wind up there for the rest of their lives, having to deal with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, and Big Dave and Melvin, turning them out. And this sadly is the final fate of Darius Miles and his friend, because neither one of these males learn the male life skills and male survival skills on how to navigate situations as related to women, learning how to navigate situations as related to your ego and your pride. Because, yeah, girls are gonna say no to you, girls are gonna reject you, and you have, as just like I talk about in my book, Stop Simping, you have to hear a lot of no to get to yes, and you have to build up a thick skin as these girls are saying no, because as they're saying no to you, you have to look at the positives of them saying no, and that's something I had learned way back when I was a teenager. There's a positive of girls saying no to you, and the positive of girls saying no to you is you have another opportunity at getting with the girl who actually is interested in you, and you have an actual opportunity at having a better life with that person. That's why you don't dwell on being angry at this girl for saying no to you, because if she says no to you, then it's not a problem. What that's just letting you know is that, okay, she ain't interested, so I have an opportunity to get with somebody who is interested. And even if they go out here and hard disrespect you by calling you a name or saying something nasty, then you already know, okay, this was not one I wanted to get with, because if she's getting nasty like this with me on the first meeting, what that's sending me is a message that she doesn't respect me as a man. So I've definitely dodged a bullet as related to getting involved with this woman. So this is, again, you got to look at the positives as related to rejection, because if somebody's showing you who they are, then you have to accept who they are. And accepting who they are means you're just going to say, okay, I'm going to just charge her to the game and keep it moving. And charging her to the game is not a bad thing. No, it's the best thing you could do, because you, again, have so much to lose, and so much to lose as related to getting emotional about her, because you have your whole life ahead of you. And that's something many young men like a Darius Miles don't really think about. And because they don't think about that critically, they get out here and act impulsively, and they go out here and throw away more important things like their freedom. And your freedom is the most important thing in your life, and you don't take your freedom for granted. That's something many young men aren't getting. And again, I'm seeing this happen too many times with black males out here. I just saw it happen with one of these NBA players, Ja Morant, who's out here playing the thug, not understanding playing the thug basically is putting you in jeopardy as related to your, and not only your NBA career, but your life. And you could wind up going out like the late Tupac Shakur. Again, not understanding what is at stake here. This is the big problem many beta males don't understand, because beta males believe that life is like it's guaranteed. They think just like a female, thinking everything is just going to keep going on, not understanding everything can change in an instant. And that's why you got to go out here and keep your head on a swivel. That's what every man understands out here. But Darius Miles didn't really understand this. And because he didn't understand this, he got in his feelings about some single mom, and he got in his feelings about this single mom and getting upset about this single mom. That's something, again, that guys who don't know nothing about women don't understand. They don't understand. You don't get upset over some woman. No, what you do when a woman says no is take that L, and as you take that L, you keep it moving to something better. But a lot of these guys don't really understand this, because They were never taught how to be men, and because they weren't taught how to be men, they wound up with situations that led to them becoming men in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to beta males going out here and winding up on dysfunctional paths like this, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis on other online booksellers like Smashwares, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to learn how to break out of this paradigm of being a simp, you can go out here and pick up my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, and learn why you don't get upset over rejection from a woman. And if you want to learn how a person's life can completely change by doing something stupid, you can also pick up my book, The Legendary Mad Matilda, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find it at other online booksellers like Smashwares, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me do more men's issues videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker at online booksellers today. Now available on Lulu. John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at lulu.com today.